Smackdown starts off with Seth Rollins and his faction. Seth Rollins cut a promo. He basically was mentioning Money in the Bank, mentions how he's going to win it, cash in, become champion. Then he ends up mentioning, trying to, have all the power, being the future of WWE. Mentions Sami Zayn, Punk, and Roman, and how he took them out and how they're not coming back. Then you end up getting the Bloodline. They come out. Solo ends up talking to Seth Rollins, ends up mentioning that Seth Rollins is basically recreating the Bloodline. He ends up calling Braun Breaker Jey Uso being the right hand man. It ends up saying that it's Bronson Reed, Sami Zayn, the honorary Uso. But then he ends up mentioning Money in the Bank and mentions how he's going to cash in and how he's going to become champion. Seth Rollins ends up alluding to Jacob Fatu, alluding how there's not really that much trust in the bloodline and how Jacob and Solo have, are not seeing eye to eye, how they're having friction, and how that, Jacob eventually is going to backstab Solo Sikoa. Then Seth Rollins ends up saying that Solo feels threatened by him, and that then they just have a stare down. It was a stare down between Jacob Fatu and Braun Breaker, which was really good because we all know this match is going to happen eventually. It's not going to happen anytime soon, I don't think so, but we know in the next few years they're going to eventually have this match, and when they do have this match, the match is going to be an absolute banger. This does ends up transitioning into a Jimmy Uso versus JC Mateo match because Jimmy Uso ends up attacking the Bloodline after Seth Rollins and the factions of leaving the ring. This transition to that match. Solo and Jacob are of course outside the ring. They try to interfere. JC ends up accidentally attacking Jacob Fatu. This of course continues to cause friction between JC and Jacob Fatu. Jimmy Uso picks up the victory. Later in the show, this ends up having a segment between Solo and JC where they're going back and forth between JC feels like Jacob is the problem, that we can't trust him, where Solo is continuing to, push the idea that, Jacob loves him, that we could trust him, that, he'll eventually come around. And I am loving Solo Sikoa's character of being like this comedy boss gimmick. I'm loving what he's doing because throughout the match between JC and Jimmy, he just constantly is trying to recruit Jimmy, constantly trying to recruit him throughout the match, which was hilarious. But towards the end of the segment, though, Solo basically ends up saying that Jacob Fatu is basically an idiot, that he doesn't think, and that he's basically all gas, no brakes, and that he's the brains of the operation, that he really doesn't think that well, and that he eventually come around. But they end up doing, the Batista spot, the Bailey spot from last year, where they end up hearing what the person is saying. So Jacob Fatu ends up overhearing what Solo saying without Solo noticing. So we'll see how this plays out. I'm assuming they're going to slowly build this. I don't think they're going to go on the next episode of SmackDown and have Jacob confront. No, I think they're going to wait it out. Then eventually Jacob is eventually going to, eventually reveal that he knows how Solo really feels about him, and eventually do the big reveal, and then this eventually leads into the match between Solo and Jacob Fatu. So interested to see how this plays out. Afterwards, we became Piper versus Selena Vega. Oh my god, I am so tired of the Secret Harvest and Selena Vega having matches. Like, it is ridiculous. They have faced off like 20 times already. Like, I don't even know if she even had 20 matches as U.S. champion, but man, it feels like we have to stop this feud. But we end up getting Julia. She interferes in the match, helps Selena Vega. Then she ends up attacking Selena after the match, and that's it. Of course, they're building up Selena and Julia to see how that feud works out. Look, I'm not really interested in this feud, but it's better. It's better than getting the same rematch of the Secret Harvest over and over again. So, who knows? Maybe this will actually cook, but it's better than what we're getting with the Secret Harvest and Chelsea Green because I am tired of seeing them face Selena Vega over and over. I am so over that feud. So hopefully this is something new. We'll see how this plays out. After this, we end up getting LA Knight versus Aleister Black. This match ended up becoming official due to Aleister Black feeling like he got robbed out of his Money in the Bank qualifying match, and that he wants to see who's really the better man between him and LA Knight. So they have the match. Seth Rollins ends up attacking them both, causing a disqualification. He ends up curve stopping them both, if I'm not mistaken. And that's really it. He just does this to take out everyone who's going to be in the Money in the Bank match, because I think he also he did this earlier as well, if I'm not mistaken. No, he did this later in the show. I'm tripping. He did this later in the show, if I'm not mistaken. But he basically, throughout the show, was attacking everyone who's going to be in the Money in the Bank ladder match, because he also attacked Andrade and Penta, who also had a tag match between the Creed brothers. I almost forgot because I really didn't care about the match. I just had to remember what happened towards the end. But yeah, he attacked everyone who's going to be in the Money in the Bank ladder match to make sure he gets the advantage towards Saturday, to make sure he's the one who's going to be 100%, while everyone is going to be, more hobbled and more hurt. So makes sense. They end up trying to do the same thing later in the show with Naomi with the six man women's tag match between Alexa, Stephanie, and Rhea versus Roxanne, Naomi, and Julia. They did the same thing but failed because towards the end of the match you end up getting Naomi ends up leaving and betraying her tag partner Roxanne, leaving her by herself, and she ended up, taking the pin, and the baby faces won. And the commentary reasoning was that she wanted to have the other opponents weak, that way that she could be ready for Money in the Bank, which didn't make sense because the only person who was really weak throughout that match was really Roxanne Perez. And then on the babyface side, the main person who's taking all the punishment was Alexa Bliss. It's not Rhea Ripley barely performed in the match, so it's like you didn't really do anything to her. And then I guess you did something to step. If they wanted to tell that narrative of Naomi wanting to, have everyone more weakened to Money in the Bank, what they could have done is just had Naomi attack all the baby faces backstage, still have this match. That way they'll be even more weakened, and then do the whole thing of betraying her. That would have made more sense, but instead they just had her betray Roxanne Perez during the match just randomly. I just don't understand. But we'll see how this plays out. Then we end up getting an announcement from Nick Aldis. They announced King and Queen of the Ring, which is good because I thought they wasn't going to do it. Thank God they're doing it. We only got 3 weeks. They end up taking out one of the brackets. I think it's similar to like the Owen Hart where they have the quarterfinal, then the semis, and then the finals. So because originally it's supposed to be 3 rounds before the final, but they took one out due to them only having 3 weeks to build this, because they keep jamming all their pay-per-views together. But we'll see how this plays out. There's no announcement of who's in the matches, so I can't really give out a prediction, but I do love the King of Queen idea. I think it should be a year-round thing, in my opinion. I think it makes it a lot more interesting having the Money in the Bank and the whole King and Queen thing around the same. I like the idea, so I hope they continue it. Then we get the main event. We end up getting Cody, Jay, and John. Before this, and Logan Paul. Before this, it was a quick segment where after Andrade and Seth Rollins. Well, no, this happened before then. No, this happened later, if I'm not mistaken. Seth Rollins and then was cutting a promo. Cody Rhodes and Jey Uso interrupt, and they just have a stare down between Seth Rollins and Cody Rhodes, which I did somewhat like because this could potentially be a thing where you have another Seth Rollins and Cody Rhodes match. Now, I think this time it will be different, mainly because Seth Rollins is a different type of heel this time. He's more of a heel that thinks, well, he's similar to what he was last time where he thinks he's in the right, but this time he has the faction with him. He's trying to get more power. So I do like this version. If they do end up having a rematch between the two, I do like this version. I do think this could be very interesting if they end up doing it, but I don't think we're going to get this anytime soon due to Cody going after John Cena. But we end up basically getting the segment between Cody, Jay, and John and Logan. John, 3 of them was in the ring. Logan was in the ring. Logan ends up sneak attacking Jey Uso. This allowed John Cena to attack Cody. They end up basically attacking them. They end up standing tall. Don't really need to speak that much about this segment. Was it was very dragged out for whatever reason. Well, last time they didn't have enough time. This time they had plenty of time, but it was very dragged out, very forced. Ends with them both holding their championships. Well, John Cena holding the WWE Undisputed Championship. Logan Paul holding the World Heavyweight Championship. That's it. This show overall, it was fine. It was okay. Nothing major. I'm not gonna really go that in depth on the show. It was alright. But you guys let me know your thoughts and opinions down below. Make sure to like, comment, subscribe. But yeah, that's it.